Please welcome Patti Wood, Snap, making the most of first impressions.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, okay, we're going to be talking about body language, so we need to get our bodies warmed up. To that end, if y'all could help me out, and when I say go, I need you to jump up out of your chairs, and I want you to greet 2 or 3 people, but I want you to greet them differently than you may have greeted in the last couple of days. I'd like you to greet them as if they are your long-lost friend, and you can't believe that they're here this morning. So go for it, up out of your chairs, and oh my God, I can't believe you're here. Great. Oh, you have great energy. All right, by a show of hands, how many of you, since you got to this conference, have met somebody you did not know before? Put your hand up in the air. Keep your hand up there if you think they may have formed a first impression of you. Scary thought. You can put your hands down again. We form first impressions very, very quickly. Years ago when I was teaching body language and nonverbal communication at Florida State, and teaching it at a law enforcement training center. My audience is there, by the way. We're a room full of men wearing guns. I think you've got a tough audience. And my corporate audiences and my state agency clients, I would tell them, the research at that time said you could form an accurate first impression in as little as 10 seconds. And they looked at me just like you did. 10 seconds, how is that possible? The most recent research, I talk about it in my book, Snap, says you can form an accurate first impression, accurate 72% or higher, depending on the research you're quoting, in as little as 1/300th of a second. How is that possible? How could you possibly form an accurate first impression in such a short period of time? Well, you can do it because of your ability to read body language and nonverbal communication. To be at the success point that you are to be in this room today in this beautiful property with this gorgeous weather, you can read body language, but you're reading it, and we all read it normally at the subconscious level. So your ability to read body language is because you're reading it in your limbic system, what they call the primitive brain, a little bit more complicated than right brain, left brain, your primitive brain. And you're able to, again, to be at the success point, to be in this room, you're reading thousands of cues very, very quickly. In fact, the 2 of us, see, people think they're safe if they not sitting in the front. They think, I am safe. It started, in school where you would sit in the back of the room. He thought he was safe. I'm mid-range. She'll check out the back, she'll check out the front, but you're in the danger zone. I'm walking for you. Okay, the two of us in just a moment, according to the research, can exchange up to 10,000 nonverbal cues. Is it good for you? It's good for me. We'll meet later by the pool. All right, so you buy the first cocktail. So 10,000 cues. You and another person can process up to 10,000 cues at that subconscious level in as little as 1 minute. Think about that. Now, if you're looking at me now, you might be going, Patti, okay, 10,000 cues, one other person, but what the heck is a cue? So where I'm moving in space, what I'm doing with my hands, facial expressions, my voice. You can non-verbally communicate over the phone. Voice tone, tempo, speaking rate, volume level, accent, the nuances of the voice, what's called paralanguage, all of that. You are processing those thousands of cues so quickly that you can use that data to come up with very accurate reads of another person. But that limbic system is not where word language is based. Word language is over in the neocortex, your logical thinking brain. So when you process those nonverbal cues, those potentially thousands of cues very quickly, you're doing it in that limbic system where there's no language, so it comes to you as a feeling rather than as a word association. So let's do this. How many of you, by a show of hands, have ever met somebody and you just immediately liked them? Put your hand up in the air. Okay, it looks like all the hands. Thank you very much. How many of you have ever met somebody and immediately said, don't like them, don't trust them? Okay, let's do this one, because I know y'all do a lot over the phone. How many of you have ever picked up the phone to talk to somebody for the first time? You heard their voice just briefly for the first time on that phone and said to yourself, here comes trouble. Okay, all right, and you were so right. You were so right about them. Let's do a fun one. Anybody in here been in love at first sight? Tough crowd. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's make it easy for the rest of you. Lust at first sight. Yesterday, I love Florida and bathing suits. So it's great by the pool. So let me clarify. First of all, I will say first impressions, if a man falls in love at first sight, according to the research, it's a good predictor of a long-term happy marriage for both members of the couple, which I think is really interesting. Lust at first sight, not so much. In fact, the research says if physical attractiveness is involved in your first impression assessment, if you're physically attracted to the person as you form your first impression, the accuracy of your first impression goes down significantly. Some of you are going, oh, that explains the first marriage, Patti. Why weren't you our speaker a while ago? And there's another phenomenon that I now share with all my audience because it's actually a phenomenon that's on the increase, and that is if you're single and you see the guy or gal across the room for the very first time, you see them, and as soon as you see that new person as a single person, you look at them and you go, danger, 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 and then you say, I must have him. Okay, I call that danger at first sight. And what's happening is your body is picking up from that limbic system that we discussed just a moment ago. Your limbic system is picking up all those cues to a dangerous person. But what's happening is physiologically, things like your heart rate rises, your blood pressure increases, you might flush to the skin, you might get a little bit sweaty, a little bit nauseous. And it's very intense. The fear that's coming from your read of that person is so intense that what's happening is you're misinterpreting it as that intensity must be love, right? And what's actually happening is you're seeing that new person and everything in your body is going, run, run, run for the hills. And instead you say, no, I must date them. Okay, so it's a misinterpretation of the data. Why do I share this story with you? Well, part of it is it doesn't matter what happens, it matters how you handle what happens. But the most important thing I want you all to get from today is that the greatest gift you can give to another human being is to understand them and know that body language is very revealing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Woo!
Thank you, Patti.